by design.
Good God, we've got to have you back up soon. I've got Daniel Estlin from Spain joining us, but can you stay? We're about to break just another 5-minute segment, 5 minutes into the next hour, or do you have to go?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, good, because I want to plug the book again. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't cause a massive awakening now, this is going to get firmly entrenched, spread throughout the biosphere, spreading into other plants already. In fact, it always does. The mindset of these companies, though, how are the people that work at them so evil? Don't they care about their own families?
Well, you know, I interviewed someone from Monsanto who had left the company, and he was recruited in '97. And he actually evaluated the words of the then CEO, Robert Shapiro, who promised great things for the world from genetic engineering. It impressed the heck out of this guy. And so during the employee orientation in Monsanto's headquarters, he waxed philosophical about what he was doing for the world. He got pulled over after the meeting by a vice president and said, wait a minute, what the CEO, Robert Shapiro, says is one thing, what we do is something else. We're here to make money. We don't even know what he's talking about.
It's incredible. Yeah, we're going to feed the Africans, but the Africans are smart enough to let this stuff rot on the dock.
Yeah, when I spoke to the House of Chiefs in Zambia, first of all, I apologized on behalf of the United States, which tried to bully them to take genetically engineered food aid, and I applauded them for resisting it because, of course, feeding 80% or 90% of the caloric intake as genetically engineered corn to people that are already immuno-suffering and malnourished would be a disaster.
You know, in a sick way, though, by you and others stopping them from poisoning people in mass, it actually, in a sick way, lets them continue. If you just let it go into Africa and then it killed a bunch of people, we might be able to stop it. I'm not saying do that, but, I mean, do you see the point I'm making?
I am, but we started the segment, we started the show talking about how L-tryptophan had killed 100 Americans and caused 5,000 to 10,000 to fall sick, and how difficult it was to even trace it to the L-tryptophan. If we saw lots of people dying, they could easily let it go and not attribute it to genetically engineered food.
Well, they're already doing that because they don't teach the doctors through the American Medical Association how to diagnose unless, like you said, it's incredibly acute.
Exactly. Acute and fast-acting and rare symptoms. Otherwise, if it's cancer or heart disease, who would know? They wouldn't say, have you been
We'll be
food?
back with the final segment with you, my friend, in just 60 seconds. By the way, major federal court ruled and admits with the scientists that the mercury did cause the brain damage. But see, that's because it's so acute, because the kids have convulsions after the third round of shots at 18 months. We'll be right back. Our guest is Jeffrey M. Smith. You've got to go to seedsofdeception.com. You've got to get Seeds of Deception, the book, the #1 international bestseller on GMO foods. You've got to get his new book, and that's Genetic Roulette. And yes, we're going to be carrying them here. I've made that deal with them, but we're not selling them yet. Just get them now. We cannot wait. We have just got to get these out to people. We've got 4 minutes left. I'm going to just actually gag myself. I'm going to stick a shoe in my mouth, and you've got the floor, sir. Whatever else you think is important.
Well, I think that I want to describe what's happening currently because it may be in a state from some of the listeners and they could participate in expressing outrage to their state assemblymen or the departments of agriculture. Monsanto is backed against the corner because the tipping point is occurring against genetically engineered bovine growth hormone. And so starting in October in Pennsylvania, the Department of Agriculture, the Secretary of Ag, passed a ruling saying it was illegal for companies to label their products as RBGH-free, or as they say, RBST-free. And there was such an outcry that the governor's office stopped the ruling and said, we're going to delay it by a month to review. And he finally came out with a compromise plan that allowed for the labeling but required this bogus sentence saying that according to the FDA, there's no difference in milk from cows treated with RBGH or not. And that bogus sentence was written by Monsanto's former attorney who was in charge of policy at the FDA, and it's a lie. There's a significant difference between the milk from cows treated with RBGH. It has higher levels of IGF-1, which is linked to cancer, and I mean very linked to cancer. Women with high levels of IGF-1 who are premenopausal are 7 times more likely to develop breast cancer. Men are 4 times more likely to develop prostate cancer, and it's in much higher levels in milk from cows treated with RBGH. So, unfortunately, we have sort of won in Pennsylvania. We've sort of won in Utah, but it's being fought now. I mean, in Ohio. But
so who do we lobby? Who do we lobby?
We're lobbying right now. Kansas, Missouri, and Utah are the main ones right now.
Okay, in closing, because the listeners will get mad, I forgot this question. The Doomsday Vault that they've built 1,000 kilometers from the North Pole, filled with all of the seed stock that hasn't been contaminated.
Well, certainly these type of vaults are all over the planet, and they're not often well kept up. And sometimes a biotech company will sort of take a ownership interest in them so that they can have access to the germplasm to genetically engineer it, patent it, and then further their plans to control the world's food supply. I happen to know Carrie Fowler, who is the director of the Norwegian plant. He's a very good man, and he has a very good dream for protecting the world's seed supply for the long term. Now, whether or not the corporate interests are involved in it and what their level of interest is and what their level of ability to manipulate that, it's hard to say. But this is something that's of fundamental importance to protect the biodiversity. When the Green Revolution was started in India, they had 250,000 varieties of rice. They knocked it down to a few hundred.
And by the way, I've got to stop you again. I've got to stop you again because we're almost out of time here. You just brought up a whole other thing. The big GMO companies are buying up all the heirloom seeds so you can't get them.
Oh, yeah. In fact, Monsanto is the largest seed company in the world. And so they're reducing the amount of non-GM seeds available in certain seed categories. So they're really in a situation to control the shots if they own the seed supply. SeedsOfDeception.com. Seeds of Deception is the best-selling book. The brand new book is Genetic Roulette. We're going to have you back up for a 2-hour interview when you get back after the 16th from that conference. All I can say is, Jeffrey M. Smith, God bless you for what you're doing for all of humanity. People need to support you, and thank you for spending time with us. Thank you so much, Alex. An amazing individual. There he goes. We'll be back with Daniel Estelin from Spain, and then a lot more, ladies and gentlemen. We're living in very interesting times.